Okay, welcome to week 3 here of Edit 2310. And we're going to be looking this week at actually creating classes inside of Google Classroom and Microsoft Class Notebook. Now, what you're going to be doing is take the same lesson. Don't worry about creating two different lessons. Use the same lesson. You can create students in it if you want to, but if you do, be sure you fictionalize those students so that you are protecting the privacy information of those students. So create a lesson it could be any lesson that you've created in the past. It could just be something maybe about a hobby and you want to teach a skill. It could be anything. It can be for elementary students, middle school, high school. It doesn't make any difference. And of course, the way that you present it and the appearance of things on the page should be consistent with the age group to which you're trying to teach. So high school students could get by with fewer flowers or smiley faces on the screen, but you design it to look attractive enough to hold the attention of the users that you are trying to teach something to. And you see the information here in Blackboard, little discussion that I have here at the start about what we've learned so far and the way it is that we need to keep in our heads the differences between the Google educational world and the Microsoft educational world, and why I try to explain here why it is that Google Classroom tends to win out so very often, even though it's not the best thing that we could do for our students. If we really cared about our students, we would have them all on Microsoft platforms. But since we need to do what is easiest for the teachers, then we're all using Google. So we're going to give you some experience in using both. That way you'll be able to know what it's like creating in either of those. Now you can put anything in these classes that you want, PowerPoints, whiteboards, anything that you want. Don't worry about making it a full-blown class lesson yet, because we're going to come back to this whenever we get to assessments, and we're going to look at different ways that we can integrate assessments with our lessons in these class notebooks, as well as the fact we're going to look at how we can make presentations that are interactive with students, so that, for example, as we are presenting a PowerPoint presentation, that they're embedded in the PowerPoint presentation. We could create a small formative assessment just to see where they are at the moment, your students are at that moment, and whether or not they're understanding what it is that you just told them. So we're going to do all of that kind of stuff throughout the semester. So we'll come back and add those components to these two classrooms as we move along. And working in Google Classroom is very simple. Working in Microsoft Classroom, it may be an adjustment for you, seeing how that you type things in and how you include things. But take the time to learn how to use it, because it'll be well worth your time. Even if you don't use it as a teacher in your classroom, then it is very likely that whenever you go to professional conferences, or if you ever have a job outside of education, the world beyond education is a Microsoft world, like it or not. The business world is a Microsoft world. And so that's why I've got this thing about teaching our students what they need to know beyond graduation. We keep saying that we care about the future of our students, and that we're wanting to make our students as successful beyond high school as we can possibly make them to be, and yet we don't do anything to help them understand the technologies that they're going to encounter when they get out of high school. So anyway, that's my soapbox. So create this. So the way you'll do this for submitting for a grade is to just create your two lesson plans in Google Classroom and Microsoft Class Notebook. And then you're going to get links to both of those notebooks, both of those classrooms. And so you'll create a Word document where you briefly describe it, and I really mean briefly. One paragraph is more than enough to explain what your lesson is about and how you are approaching it, what type of a lesson it is. and then provide the 2 links to those, and then put those in a Word document. And then you'll see a link here at the bottom of the week 3 page in Blackboard where you will submit this. Be active in the peer support forum and support one another as you go through here. Some of you may never have seen anything inside of Microsoft Teams or Microsoft Class Notebook, and some of you may be more experienced with that. So share what you know with one another and make it truly a learning community, a community of learners as we get through this lesson in week 3.